All right, Krystal, what's on your radar?
Well, folks like me on the left who dare to criticize the mainstream Democratic Party are routinely attacked for supposedly helping Trump or doing Trump's bidding, when the truth is no one could possibly have enabled and empowered Trump more than the hashtag resistance warriors who run the Dem establishment. Of course, we covered here how Dems impeached Trump and then absurdly turned right around and handed him a brand new trade deal and broad-ranging war and surveillance powers. Dems had a multi-year-long obsession with Russia, which made them into foolish McCarthyite conspiracy theorists. They then moved quickly to Ukraine-gate, an actual corruption issue, but one that was so Byzantine and centered on elite national security state drama that no normal person could possibly care. Oh, and which also, by the way, implicated Democratic frontrunner Joe Biden for good measure. Great job there, guys. But I do want to be fair. Pelosi wore a powerful brooch for the impeachment hearings, and the yes queens reverberated throughout all of certain select segments of Twitter. But I confess, I did allow myself to feel the tiniest glimmer of a sentiment I can vaguely recall from better times, a decadent and often false sentiment called hope that stirred unbidden within me at the very beginning of the bailout negotiations. Now, if you'll recall, when faced with McConnell's proffered massive corporate slush fund, Dems actually did something that appeared to maybe be brave, and they voted it down. Not once, but twice. Schumer explained Democrats' opposition to the bill, saying it included, quote, a large corporate bailout with no protections for workers and virtually no oversight. And he was right. So imagine my surprise when shortly thereafter they went ahead and all voted for a massive corporate bailout, which still had no protections for workers. Great job there, guys. But we were assured that the whole oversight issue had been taken care of. So at least while the American people were getting bilked, we'd get a report on it after the fact, and incredible journalists like the ones we try to feature on the show here, Aaron Glantz, David Dayen, Matt Taibbi, etc., could tell us just how badly we all got screwed. At least it was something. Almost instantly, though, even this tiny shred of a concession was demolished when Trump included a signing statement with the bill essentially saying he'd do whatever oversight he damn well pleased. I mean, who could have seen that coming? Certainly not the Democrats, who've spent years railing about a lawless president and then happily handed his administration trillions of dollars in a corporate slush fund to do with as they please. But as if that wasn't bad enough, yesterday, in order to make it absolutely clear to our slower friends in the Dem Party that he had no intention of allowing any of this so-called oversight to occur, Trump fired the inspector general who had been charged with the task and instead installed a reliable crony. Now, you might be tempted to give Democrats the benefit of the doubt here. After all, how do you deal with a president who will just do whatever he wants and dare the courts to stop him? But in fact, in the bill, it was always clear that Trump would have the final say over oversight. As corruption expert and activist Zephyr Teachout pointed out, long before IG Glenn Fine was ousted, Trump had ultimate authority over the IG, and the congressional committee would have virtually no power. I'm sure many of you watching right now saw all of this coming all the way along, even though the Democrats didn't. But never fear, everyone. Pelosi did declare herself to be troubled by the president's actions, so the resistance theater troupe is all over it.
The president removed the chairman of the panel created by Congress to oversee the management of the $2 trillion stimulus package. Do you know why Glenn Fine was removed from his post? And is this a wise move? I mean, shouldn't somebody be watching over this?
Yes, the president thinks he should be the one, and that's exactly upside down. But Glenn Fine was appointed by the president just around a week ago. And now since he was chosen by his colleagues to lead the pandemic committee, oversight committee, he is now being removed by the president sending in some of his loyalists. So this is really a problem.
So just to summarize here, they missed their one chance to actually extract anything and are now left with strongly worded tweets and huffy cable news segments, the resistant drugs of choice. Now, after watching a dangerous and outrageous election take place in the middle of a pandemic, thanks to equivocating from Democratic leaders up to and including Joe Biden, in immoral power-grabbing decisions by conservative majorities on both the Wisconsin and U.S. Supreme Courts, Democrats have way too late realized maybe they should be fighting for national mail-in balloting in November. Of course, whatever leverage they had is long gone. They didn't come out earlier against in-person voting because it served their interests to allow elections to go forward in Illinois and Florida in particular. Remember, the DNC even floated penalizing states that moved their primaries, all so that they could make sure Joe Biden sews up the nomination before anyone notices the reality of his current state. But never fear, just as she had a great plan for corporate bailout provisions, of which she secured 0 out of 8 of her demands, Elizabeth Warren has a plan for election security, too. I'm sure the GOP will go right along with making it easier to vote and rolling back their multi-decade-long project of restricting the franchise to their own base. There was one thing that the GOP wanted and needed and actually cared about, and that was the corporate bailout money. That was where Democrats could have had leverage and could have actually extracted something that served the interest of working people or even their own power interests, like the voting issue. There was just one problem. Dems needed that corporate cash to satisfy their own donors and lobbyist friends, too. They put up a big show for some fake oversight, but in the end, the bipartisan pro-corporate consensus once again ruled the day. And so good luck getting any of Elizabeth Warren's meaningless plan now. You squandered your only chance because you were complicit in wanting to allow large multinationals to cash in. Your corruption not only left working people twisting in the wind, but will only once again serve to empower Trump. They're having this fantasy now, like they have some kind of leverage in the next negotiations. But Kamala doesn't even want to do anything.
No, and actually, I mean, I'll cover this, what they do want to do, and it's just extension of the Paycheck Protection Program. But no, they have 0 leverage whatsoever. A lot of the people don't have leverage. The only people who do are the ones who are willing to actually hold up the process, drag people to Washington, and to make them vote and to negotiate. That's it.
Or the people are willing to say, no, we don't need to do anything.
Well,
because stasis is that is the general direction of Congress. So if you're going to overcome that, I mean, those are the folks who have leverage. It's just like, no, we're not going to do it.
But don't forget, as I covered, she instituted a select committee headed by the energetic James Clyburn, which has not actually been instituted yet, hasn't begun investigating anything yet, and which she can handpick all of the people on the committee and turn it into the next Ukraine investigation.
Which I'm sure the American people won't remotely see as a just partisan exercise of power. I'm sure it'll be taken all very seriously. And
that's part of the issue again and again. And they don't. I don't actually think, as you said, that they believe in any real oversight over this. What they want is the appearance of oversight. That's why they fought so hard for that provision that none of Trump's actual companies would be able to benefit from this, because the appearance of fighting and resistance is actually more important than any real oversight of real corporatism and the cash that comes out. They don't care that cash is going out by the boatloads. And this is the true bipartisan consensus. They're like, oh, well, we need, first of all, they don't know anything about this inspector general. I was reading about it. Apparently the Obama administration also gutted the inspector general's. It turns out when people are in charge of the executive branch and they like to rule, they don't have wide latitude to dismiss and mess with the inspector general process. They do so. It's been going all the way back probably since the Nixon administration. And that's just one of those things where Congress is generally toothless and refuses to hold the executive in both Republican and Democratic administrations completely to account, because they don't want, ultimately, what I've realized is these people don't want the actual responsibility of having to vote for difficult bills, because then they can't campaign, or then people can campaign against them. They don't want real oversight authority, because then they would actually have to do something instead of fundraise.
Right.
They want to outsource all of their real fiduciary responsibilities and everything to the agencies so that they can blame the agencies while doing nothing themselves.
Right.
That's it.
I mean, I do want to be fair, and I know you guys love TARP, but Aaron Clance points out on the show, at least there, you had a list of every single thing, and in the stimulus, every single project that was funded. So look, people may get screwed, but at least after the fact, journalists could dig in and figure out what happened. We're not even going to get that this time. And it's on Trump, who's gutting this provision and doesn't want any oversight. It's on Mnuchin, who's going to be very influential in terms of how this massive amount of money is distributed. But Democrats, if they actually cared, could have seen this coming long before now. And, you know, they certainly talk about how Trump will bend and break the rules, how he's lawless, et cetera. Like, did you really think that your little inspector general line was going to do anything? And the truth is, no. They didn't think it was going to really make a difference. They just wanted some cover for themselves. And the provision about Trump's companies not getting any money is the perfect example, because while they get to have that headline, oh, we won this important concession, Trump's not going to be able to cash in. Then you look in the details of the bill. Guess what one of the biggest tax benefits written into this bill is for? real estate developers,
right?
Like himself, like Jared Kushner, etc. But they got their headline. That's all they really.
And they don't really care. And again, you cover this correctly, which is that at the end of the day, they need the cash too. They need their donors, their people. Need the cash. There's a reason that the very first thing Nancy Pelosi said after phase 3 was done is we need a SALT cap deduction removal. That was it. That's what it was. Removing the SALT cap, which only benefits people who make over $250,000 to $1 million. Disproportionately affect people who make over $1 million a year.
The Trump people counter with let's reduce the capital gains tax rate.
They're like, okay, there you go. That awesome. Exactly shows you who the two true power centers of these things who they want to fight for. That tells you everything they need to know. It doesn't care about inspector generalship. I mean, I want it, and people are like, you think Republicans want any oversight of this money? No, but I think oversight is actually important for public confidence, or you're going to get another Occupy Wall Street in 3 years. And I think that's probably going to happen. And you look at this, and I was like, you know what? There's a real opportunity, a real Truman committee. Let's look into the money that's being doled out. Let's making sure that profiteers are being investigated, all that. No, she appoints the James Clyburn committee. You
know what's funny is she actually, in that interview clip that we showed of Pelosi, she actually then goes on to mention the Truman committee. I think she may be a secret Rising fan. Just kidding. Definitely not. But if you actually cared about that, if you actually wanted that, like that ship has long sailed.
Of course.
I mean, you weren't willing to do what it takes. And this goes back to the conversation we were having about like moral and immoral actors in all of this. Because they tied together the workers package and the small business package and the corporate piece. I mean, look, I don't think Bernie Sanders should have voted. I think the populace should have banded together. I think they should have opposed this loudly and vociferously. I don't think they ultimately should have voted for it. But they put them in this terrible bind where it's like, are you going to hold workers hostage? Are you going to hold workers hostage and keep them from getting their benefits in a timely manner? Because, over here, the corporatists will go to the mat for their masters. They will do that. And so it becomes this almost impossible negotiating game.
It's very hard. It's very hard for the people I've spoken to. When you're 5 versus 95 and they have the media on their side, they can kill you. They really can. They can crush you.
And then forever they say, why did you vote against worker help? Why did you vote against small business?
They will do that.
100%. Of course. All right, Sagar, looking forward to your radar. That's next.